name is Steve Faries. For the purpose of this meeting, I'm the spokesperson for the Bobo family. Karen, Dana, and Clint have asked me to give a statement. After the statement is given, I will entertain questions, but I will not entertain any questions to do with the case. That will be in the province of the Attorney General and the Sheriff. If you wish to ask any questions, I believe they are here to answer the questions that they are able to at this time. Please remember, this is the family statement. This is not my statement. On behalf of Holly, we would like to thank everyone for their thoughts and prayers during this difficult saga. Our friends have been unwavering in their support, and the authorities have been diligent in their pursuit of justice. We will never understand the actions or the motives of those who took Holly from us, but we continue to pray that someone will have the courage to step forward and shed more light on this senseless tragedy. Those responsible will be afforded a trial. As an innocent victim, Holly had no such right. They can appeal the verdict if they choose to do so. Holly was given no such choice. Although in prison, they can breathe, see God's wonders of this earth, and visit with their loved ones. Not Holly. We've lost a precious daughter, sister, granddaughter, niece, cousin, and friend. However, those responsible have lost their souls. Holly's soul is the one thing that their brutality could not diminish or extinguish. The family knows that Holly is in a better place, and we're comforted by that knowledge. We hope that no family will have to experience what we have endured. Our agony cannot be adequately described in words. For this reason, we respectfully request something circumstances have denied us, and that is privacy. We believe we have the right to mourn privately as a family and a community. We know the press and other media have jobs to do. And in fact, y'all have been very helpful in publicizing Holly's abduction. But now is the time for grieving. Please honor our request. The case is in the hands of the authorities, and we will not have any further comment as a family at this time. Thank you. If there are any questions concerning the family, we will try to answer them at this time. We may or may not. If there are no questions and y'all wish to speak to the Attorney General and the Sheriff, we will step aside.
Does the discovery offer any closure for the family?
Janice, as you know, that's part of the case. We cannot answer that question. As far as closure, this has been bittersweet. They had been informed previously of Holly's death, so they've run the gamut of emotions. They are comforted by the fact that they do have a definitive answer at this point.
Since day one, the family has vowed to find Holly, and now it's been bring Holly home. Now that Holly has been found, how is the family coping with this new reality?
I think they're coping minute to minute, hour by hour, day by day, as if any of us would in similar circumstances. Again, running the gamut of emotions that families go through. But I'll tell you this, I've never seen a stronger family. I've never seen a more dedicated family. I've never seen a family that wouldn't give up. I've never seen a family so full of faith. If there are no further questions, I will turn this over to the sheriff, and the sheriff will try to answer those questions that he can. Sheriff?
Thank you, sir. I'm here today, not as much as the sheriff, but as a friend of the family, and here to support the family. And you know, this is something that has touched every life in the county and surrounding counties as well. My new goal, my original goal was to find Holly. My new goal is to see to it that the people that did this are punished, and with myself and our partners, the TBI and the District Attorney's Office. I don't have much of a statement to make. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Yes?
Sheriff, are there any other folks involved, and we have these 2 suspects in jail? What are your thoughts about other arrests?
We believe there are, and other arrests will be forthcoming. How long that will take, I couldn't tell you, but we're gonna hunt these people until we find them. They can run, but they can't hide.
Were there any other identifying materials or evidence at the scene other than the remains?
Not to my knowledge.
This question may be for the DA, but does the new physical evidence dramatically change the way you prosecute the case?
Yes, it will. And that would be something for him to answer.
Is there any way to tell how long that she was there for?
No. I'm not qualified to answer that. I'm sure they can, but I'm not a party to that information.
I know last time we spoke, you had mentioned you'd been above that area in the air. Do you know, had it ever been searched underground?
I have checked into that since then, and it has been searched a couple of times. How far the searchers went back into the area is still unclear. The scene is about 400 yards beyond the gravel road, or actually beyond the cell phone tower. So it's quite a ways back in the hollow behind the tower. So I don't know if anybody went that far or not.
I know it's been, we've had a night to kind of take this in. I mean, does it still seem real that this is how it's ended?
Well, not really. None of this seems real from the very start. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you always think about happens to those other people somewhere else. You know, we never thought it would happen here, but it did. You know, we're not protected from crime anywhere we live, but we want to take measures to see to it that it's not done again.
Sheriff, you mentioned the cell phone tower, and we noticed that, evidence keeps turning up around the family ping map, and we know that that's been disputed in the past. Can you confirm that the family has a ping map, that it has to do with this case?
I don't know if they have a ping map or not. When we did aerial surveillance on that area just a few days after the abduction, for lack of a better term, we were chasing pings is what we were doing. We were looking in those areas that cell phones had pinged off towers, and that area was one of the areas. But at that time of the year, it was in April, the foliage had started coming out, and the foliage was too thick to really see the ground very well. If it had happened in January, we probably could have seen something, but not in April. The leaves are already dark on the trees.
And Sheriff, you talked about charges forthcoming, and we know that Shane Austin's case still seems to be in limbo. What can you tell us about charges forthcoming against him?
I can't tell you anything. I'm not privy to that information. That would be a question for the district attorney.
Sheriff, was it investigators, like with the TBI or with law enforcement, that had searched the area previously, or was it the teams of volunteers that also were helping out with the search?
I'm not completely clear on that. I think it was probably volunteers, because starting out in we did volunteer searches, and then later on those searches got to be more law enforcement personnel searches. If there were areas where evidence had been found or we suspected to find evidence, it was law enforcement people. Because, you know, we have a little training in how to handle evidence and how to document it and all that the layman wouldn't. But I would say that that was probably an area for citizen searches.
Sheriff, talk about what the TBI is doing currently out at the search site, what their goal is today.
At the current time, as I told you earlier, the scene is completely secured. It's been secured ever since Sunday. TBI arrived this morning with their forensic teams. There's a forensic anthropology team from University of Tennessee at Knoxville, and they have since blocked the roads. And as I told you before the press conference, anybody that's planning on going to the scene, don't worry about it. You're not getting in. In fact, I'm not going back. There's no reason for me to go back. But the scene is pretty secured, and but they're out there processing the scene. You know, no matter who the remains belong to, I mean, we had a scene that had to be processed no matter what.
Sheriff, you've said you were surprised how quickly the results came back. Were you expecting this to happen so quickly?
I really wasn't. I wasn't expecting it to happen for at least 2 or 3 days. I was very surprised and pleased that it happened as soon as it did.
Many man-hours have been expended, a lot of money has been expended, you know, over 3 years yet by law enforcement, yet it was 2 hunters who found it. Is there anything that you think that law enforcement could have done differently with their searches?
No, we, you know, as you do in any investigation, you take your information and you act on it, and you process it and act on it as best you can. To my knowledge, no information besides the pings ever came in for that particular area. But, you know, practically everything within a 20-25 mile radius was searched at one time or another. There were places in other counties nearby that were searched. But if there was any indication to believe we needed a law enforcement search in that area, I never heard it, and I never heard that one took place in that area.
By a ground search, you mean, but there was an aerial search?
Yes, we did flyovers, both with fixed wing and helicopter. One of the fixed wing flights that I was on, we had a forward-looking infrared sensor on there, the FLIR system, which picks up heat on the ground. And as I mentioned earlier, the foliage was on the trees, and the FLIR wouldn't work. It wouldn't look down through the leaves. So we really couldn't see anything with the naked eye or the FLIR.
Are those woods dense enough that someone wouldn't have been able to get an ATV or a four-wheeler or something like that back there?
Yes, there's a log road that goes within just a few feet of where the remains were found. And it would be difficult to drive a car or truck or something like that down there. If you had a Jeep or an ATV of some kind, you could get down to the area.
This might be a TBI question, but will those 2 hunters be eligible for the reward money?
I don't know. I've been asked that before, and I don't have a clue about that. I don't have a clue.
What about, you know, the other day when we spoke, before you knew that it was Holly, we talked about the proximity to Zach Adams' house and the location, and you said, you know, if this is her, then that will be taken into consideration. How does that play into things now?
Well, you know, it's, as I said earlier, that, you know, you can get in your car and in 30 minutes you can be miles and miles from where you started. So, you know, our society is so mobile that, you know, distance don't come into play too much as it used to. However, you know, as the crow flies, it's about 6 miles. So that's not a great distance. And that, yes, will be considered, sure.
Do we ask Mr. Stowe, could you address how this will impact the prosecution of this case moving forward?
Well, that's a very easy question to answer. I came into office 9 days ago prepared to try a murder case with no body. I now have a body. family, so it's going to be much easier. I heard a couple questions, and I'll answer those that I can, but I want everyone to bear in mind that the time for talking is drawing to a close, and the time for action is coming fast upon us. So while we're here talking to you, we're not out doing our jobs. And so we're going to try to answer what questions we can today, and then we're going to ask that you understand that if there's an important development that we can share with you, we will call a press conference and let the public know. Otherwise, just know that we're out there working. There's many, many people out working on that site right now, and it will be some time before we know the full extent of everything that we've got.
Have you decided whether you're going to pursue the death penalty?
That's a decision that I will be making with the family and with the family's input, and we'll be working together very closely on it. It's going to be a very tough decision. We will go through all of the pros and cons, and I'll make sure that the family is fully informed of what they need to know before they make their decision. And I expect that their decision will be honored.
Can you comment on Shane Austin's pending case?
There are, as I know many people want to know, and we have often alluded to the fact that we still think there's someone else out there that we need to get a hold of, and we are working very hard on making sure that we do get a hold of them. And that's basically where we are right now, is trying to dot I's and cross T's and make sure that nobody escapes the net. That's where we are with the investigation. Are there any other questions at this time?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, there was an issue with getting Mark Piercy to court for his hearing. Has that been fixed in time for his next court appearance in a couple of weeks?
That's an issue that we'll be getting into in the next week. Some of our decisions in that case may be affected by some of the things that we've have just been found. So I'll have an answer for that question, but not today. If there's nothing else, again, like I said, the time for talk is over. It's time to go do our jobs. So we're going to go do our jobs, and we will see that justice is provided to this family before we're finished. Thanks, and have a great day.
Steve, can we get your name, please? How to spell your first and last name?
Steve, you need me to spell Steve?
Well,
S-T-E-V-E, Farise, F-A-R-E-S-E, Senior. Thank you.
We love you, Karen, Gwen, Dana.